Hello everybody, it's Adam here coming back to you from Houdini 15.5, and today we're going to play around with motion capture. So I'm going to move my mouse into this network window and paste in a Python script that I've been working on. And this Python script specifically tweaks the Carnegie Mellon University Motion Builder BVH files. So let's go ahead and bring one in. I'm going to run a script and browse out to my mocap folder, and here are the various collections that I pulled down from Carnegie Mellon University. They offer several conversion types. There is a DAS conversion type, a 3D Max, and a Motion Builder. And I chose Motion Builder because it's the only one that has a toe. These other ones just kind of end at the foot. So I'm going to go into my Motion Builder folder, and I want folder 6111. Now if we look down here, it's an actual CMD file. So what is that and where did this come from? If we take a look here, and inside of the Houdini bin folder there are these three MC which is motion convert, three applications that can convert various files to CMD and B clips. So I used MC BioVision, and I just set up a batch file like this, which calls it with a parameter here and gives it a source file, and then it produces a like named output. And if I were to say look here, we can see that the MC BioVision has these extra options here, and I played around and some of them don't really work and some of them do. So the one I'm using is -N2, which would give me an auto bone length channel type, whatever that means. So we're going to once again return back to Houdini and run this command. That generates a rig in our scene that's broken. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll rename this to MB Motion Builder CMU BVH Original. Let's spell it right. We'll dive inside and go inside the mocap chop, and we have a broken file. That's why our rig is broken. So the companion file that was created is in 61 as well, and it is the B clip 6111. Press spacebar G, activate real time, and we can watch our mocap moving along. So the next step to do is we need to bind this to our mesh. Let's go ahead and move up one level and bring in our mesh. That would be import geometry, this T-pose that I built in Make Human. It comes in very small, but in reality it's actually the correct size of a person. It's only the motion capture that's extremely large. So you can work either way. You can scale the mocap down or scale the mesh up. So I have a magic number for the mesh, so I'm just going to scale it up 34. That puts me in T-pose for my rig. Now the controller here, or the tweaker, is broken because we have not browsed to the subnet yet. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to choose this, and maybe we'll do it this way. We'll take this original and copy and paste it, move it down here and call it tweaked. Maybe we'll swap these. So the tweaked one is going to be near the script that modifies it. And we can turn off the original. We activate the script here, go to subnet, and we'll browse out to the tweaked subnet. Now it populates and the error goes away, but it also sends us a message. It says user needs to click button to create original bone length. And the button it expects you to click is this one here, capture bone lengths. And if we read the tooltip, after loading a B clip file, you need to click this button to capture the bone lengths from that file. This value is used to adjust the length section to scale the rig correctly. So the reason why you need to do that is, let's take a look here at the bones for a second. If I click this bone and go to the bone tab, it has a length, but it does not have original bone length. So what this script does is it adds a new parameter to the rig. I click the button, we'll go back in, we'll look at the same bone, and now we have an original bone length. And the script will now look at this and calculate this based upon this original value. So another thing you may not notice, and let's go back to T-pose here, because when you look at this you say, well, that looks pretty symmetrical, that looks like a decent rig, right? But if I start picking on these bones here and I say, okay, there's this one and it has a bone length of say 459, and you'll notice that this bone length is now different than the original because the script has run once and has recalculated the bone length. That's why the size changed. But the original bone length for this bone is not the same as this bone length here. If we take a look, see, that one's 476 and this one is 459. So even within a rig there are variations along these bone lengths that shouldn't happen, because we know our mesh was basically modeled symmetrically. So we want our rig to be symmetrical as well. And that's what this button down here is all about, symmetric bone. Most motion capture rigs have varying bone lengths from left to right side. This button will mirror the bone lengths from the left to the right side. So now when I click that, now the original bone lengths, which is that new parameter we added, are going to be the same on both sides. So the next thing we can do is we can run this auto align female, and that's going to basically set all of these parameters here to the correct values that matches our mesh. And at this point I think we're good to go. We're ready to bind this rig to the mesh. So let's go ahead, go to rigging, click capture geometry, read the message. It says select the geometry object, press enter, select the root hierarchy. That is inside of this subnet at the top here. It's called hips. We move our mouse back into this window and press enter. So we have one captured object. If we go forward in time, we can see our bones are definitely deforming our mesh, but are doing a very poor job. So if we edit the capture, click the edit capture and click on a bone, we can see the reason why. The distance for these bone weights is very, very thin and tiny, so it's not capturing, and we'll go back to T-pose for this, it's not extending out far enough to actually get the faces. So that is what this final button, auto weight, does. If we click this, we see a change in our mesh, and it's not a good change. It looks like a lumpy snowman or the Michelin guy or something. However, if we actually click on a bone, we can see that the script did successfully extend the radius of all these bones. But Houdini does not know that the script extended these, and I do not know what line of code to add to tell Houdini to refresh these bones. So we're kind of stuck at this point in a manual tweak operation. So I'm going to select all the bones, which makes the viewport a mesh, and then makes the viewport a mess. So then if I click on one of these and tweak it, you'll see, all of a sudden it gets it right. So I can just go through and just quickly grab down on any of these. We only have to touch on one per bone, and just tweak them out until we start to see gradients, colored areas appear within our rig. And at this point, we're kind of there. We may need to do the head up here, maybe the neck a bit. And that's about as far as we can go using this style. So I'm going to click away, and now we have to do each bone one at a time. So we'll do the arms. They're pretty easy. We just want to crossfade. Whoops. grab the pointer, the arrow at the end, crossfade where the elbow is. Now for the hand, it's still kind of a work in progress, but I'm just going to kind of move this out of the way so I can select the hand bone, which didn't get selected, and then crossfade that into the wrist, grab the wrist, the forearm, fade it into the wrist, go back to the hand, and I'm just going to go all the way out to the fingers. I kind of want this just to be the whole hand, but I do have some other weights involved in here, so I'm going to kind of shut them down. Same thing here, shut the thumb down, and we'll see what the fallout is of that. This probably isn't the best way to do it. It's better just to not have that in there. But let's go ahead and do the other side the same way. Halfway to the elbow, halfway here. Once again, we're going to shut this down, and this down, and this down. Whoops, too many. And maybe we'll move this out of the way so we can get to here and tweak this halfway, bring our wrist the other way, and then select this and just go all the way out like this to here. Maybe select this bone and shut it down so it doesn't affect anything. And it looks like we still have a little bit of an effect on this thumb here. Let's try and cancel that if possible. There we go. Okay, let's go down. So the top of the legs here, we want to drag this way up to kind of cover up to the hips. So we'll do the same thing here, covering up to the hips. We want to do a halfway to the knee on, and then, whoops, where's my arrow? Sometimes it just doesn't appear in the interface. So if you don't see the arrow, just kind of hover over it. It may appear. We need to come down just a little bit. We want a smooth gradient, and you will see jaggedness sometimes. So these bones here just need a little tweak out the back. For the back of the foot, there's a little bit of gray there. And for the toe, we're just going to kind of go over. And we're going to shut down the toe too, because the toe acts funky. So I'm just going to shut this toe down and extend the foot all the way out. And we'll do the same thing on this one. We'll shut this toe down, blip, select the foot all the way out. And now we've got these kind of hip buttocks area. And I generally just kind of grab this one first and then pull this down. See how we get jagged fade? We want a smoother fade like that. And let's do the same thing here on this one, this bone. Drag that out, get a smoother fade going that way, and then I suppose we need to drag this one out as well to make sure that we've got all the coverage we need here. And this can be a problem area. Sometimes I've done this a few times, and sometimes I just breeze through it and it works. Sometimes I have to fuss with it. So try to get your gradients as smooth as possible, and then usually I'll just throw in a touch of the spine down, maybe like that, into that area. Now this neck chest area is pretty complex because it's connecting all these extremities. So the first thing we want to do is really just kind of tighten in, shut down the shoulder influence so it's not deforming the neck or the chest area. We have other bones that can do that. We still need the coverage required, so just kind of shape it to the bone. And then this will cover this front area here, and we'll do a little bit more of a smoother fade. We'll pull this one up a little bit and maybe bring this out a little bit and up like that. And we probably need a little more coverage this way and this way on this bone. Same here. Kind of flare that out on the end. And I don't know what it is with this side, but pull this one out. There we go. So now we've got this one here, which I'm going to kind of cancel like that. It didn't even get touched. So now we can select this neck bone and kind of pull it out so it will actually have some influence on our rig, and we'll kind of drop this down and crossfade the head down into the neck like that. So we've got a little bit of a click over here, so I can click here. A little bit of a neck problem. Pull that down. Maybe we can just fix it right here by pulling this up a little and maybe out. But generally speaking, let's click over here to select a bone so I can get back to this one. Generally speaking, I like to see we need to get rid of this gray area here, and the neck bone is just not, there we go, there we go. Okay, at this point I believe we have a dancing person. Yay! So hopefully this tool can help you out with binding your rig to a mesh. There are a lot of extra rotations, and you can see we're getting this head movement because we have this spinning dance going on, which is why I like this mocap. And you can see the hips are really working. The foot's okay. The hands are not too bad. We might want to play around with those a little bit more. But this is a companion file. This is the female version of a dance. It's a salsa. And you can see here the male counterpart dips the female down to the floor. So I would like to actually get another character going and have that character, you know, a male character dipping the female character, so that, you know, I could actually leverage this mocap and have a salsa animation. And eventually I want to put clothes on them, but that's for another time. At this point I'm going to turn off this mesh, and we'll talk about some of the controls that we didn't really explore yet, which are mainly rotation offsets. And I'm going to go to the side view so you can take a look at this. Now, the lengths allow us to control, say, the spine length, so I can shrink my character, and maybe we can just look at it in perspective view. So I can shrink my feet here, I can shrink my spine, I can shrink and grow my forearm and my upper arm, I can do the hand length, and I can also, what is this? Oh, that's foot length. We've got upper or lower leg length, and we've got upper leg length, which also brings down the center of gravity, which is the hip. There is no head neck length at this point. You can also rotate and tweak the spine, and that's why I went to side view so you could see this. Say you have a character that has a pronounced curve to their backbone. You can go in here and by tweaking these offsets readjust where the shoulders line up. I also built in a special relocate shoulders so that if you want, you can relocate the shoulders one bone length up the rig. So say you find a mocap that you think the shoulders are sitting much better up here, you can turn this on or off to relocate where they appear. Legs, we can of course do that. Under spine we have we can tweak the head so we can bend it however we like. Under lengths we also had, I think, the shoulder. I didn't explore that. You can stretch out your shoulder or bring it in. You also, there is a hip length as well, so you can have a really narrow hipped person if you end up with, say, like a cartoon character. You can also, under spine, this is linked by an expression because it's just so useful. You can move these together to spread them out. If I go back to my lengths and open up the hips, and now I have a wider hip area, or say you're riding a horse or sitting. So that's it, and now I can go back here and just repopulate that to my my posed mesh, and now I'm back to the exact settings where I am. So that's why it's useful to basically have these buttons which will conform directly to a mesh that you know you're going to be working with quite often. So with that, have some fun, play with it, and I'm out.